Hey, everybody, welcome to Last Week from the Table for January 19th, 2021. I am your host, DM Gallibond. Now, here on Last Week from the Table, we go through a recap of the sessions in my actual play games from the week. And this past weekend, we had fun, and we had fun, and we had fun. So let's go ahead and talk about these three sessions. All right, on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, over on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Gallibond, we are going through the Sword Coast Chronicles. The Sword Coast Chronicles, you can find us. This is our game where we're kind of doing a love letter to the 5th edition published adventures. It's I've kind of written a little bit of connective tissue to sort of connect the storylines together, and then with a umbrella theme behind it. And right now we are going through the storyline of Princes of the Apocalypse, so the Elemental Evil storyline. And when we began the session on Thursday, we started it by welcoming a new player, Paul. Paul is playing a dwarf barbarian who goes by Kren. Krendel, I think, is his full name, but he goes by Kren. And so he has joined the group and is fitting in very well with the rest of the players. He's a good addition to the game. We they were in the beginning part of the fire temple, the Temple of Eternal Flame, and they were fighting hobgoblins, and they found that this dwarf was a prisoner. So they defeated the party defeated the rest of the hobgoblins, and then they freed the dwarf, and they threw two of the hobgoblins into the prison cell that where the dwarf had been kept. So then they went into a chamber where they found the second in command of the temple, who had designs on perhaps using the party to try to take out the actual leader of the cult. And the party, they just didn't want to have anything to do with it because they don't like this cult at all. So uh, they they wound up killing this guy who's a pretty decent caster, but he didn't get a whole lot of chance to do things because they wound up stunning him almost right off the bat, and so he couldn't get his mage armor up, and he couldn't get some of his spells off before his turn came up in initiative. And when you're I don't care how much of a boss you are, when you're outnumbered 4-1 and you have a bad initiative roll, usually things aren't going to work out too well for you. So he was dispatched, and then they started going into another part of the fire temple, and somebody raised an alarm. So they've been fighting these guys in the fire temple, and they killed several people in the next room, and one of them was trying to get away, uh, raising the alarm the whole time, and that's where we ran out of time for the session. So this Thursday night at 8, they will still be in the middle of a running fight. in the fire temple. We will just have to see how that works out and where they wind up going from here. So tune in on Thursday at 8 p.m. Should be fun. This is a very entertaining group, and so we're having a lot of fun with this game. All right, so that's Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, twitch.tv/Gallibond. Now, Lost Mine of original D&D. We also picked up a new player in that game. We picked up Jason. Uh, Although Jason he's a little first session he was a little quiet trying to figure out where to go, and it was kind of a weird session too because um, they were at the end of the previous session they were ready to set out, uh, leave town, and uh, go take care of some uh, issues in the uh, issues with the banshee that they needed to find. However, they decided that they wanted to go ahead and um, deal with uh, deal with Grista, the innkeeper of the sleeping giant. Gosh, sorry, can't remember the name of that inn. And so they spent quite a while dealing with her. They eventually put her on an old nag backwards, um, put a mask on her face, and sent her out of town. And um, then they went off to the town. And when they got to the town, where or the ruins of the town uh, where the banshee was supposed to be, they began looking around, and of course, Amy decided to start yelling out, "Oh, Agatha, Agatha, where are you?" And they got an answer. But it wasn't Agatha that answered, it was a deep, rumbling voice that answered. And they looked over to the shell of an old tower, and a great green claw grabbed onto the top of the tower, and another green claw grabbed onto the top of the tower, and then a big dragon head poked over the tower and said, "Ooh, hello, humanoids." And they discovered Venom Fang, um, who wanted to um, wanted to relieve them of their gold, if not their lives. But the party remembers some important lessons about dragons, which is that they are vain and that green dragons aren't always the sharpest knives in the drawer. And so they wound up flattering the dragon and telling the dragon stories and um, convincing the dragon not to kill them. And they discovered that, hey, the dragon is looking for a castle too. Uh, the dragon wants a castle that it can rule. Well, they're already looking for this Kragma castle, so they might, you know, the they might start talking amongst themselves about what they want to do in terms of perhaps having the dragon help them take Kragma Castle. Um, they seem to be flying by the seat of their pants a lot. It's like, okay, well, let's solve this one problem. Yeah, maybe we're going to create another problem when we do it, but let's just solve the problem in front of us now, and then we'll worry about the next problem when it comes around. So, again, that's kind of funny. I am enjoying that. Um, I felt a little bad because Jason, our new player, he just sort of kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit, and I think he was trying to figure out where would be a good place to jump in, and we were just off and running between um, Amira's character and Gooni's character. Amy and Mason, the two ladies, were just driving the show, and the rest of us were just sort of uh, rolling along where they were leading us. So that was kind of a fun session. Um, it it took a little while to get going, as sessions sometimes do, where the players. I think the other players like, oh, well, we have somebody new. Okay, so we don't want to, but then the story's going on, and somebody's got to jump up and lead, and so Amy was like, "Yep, I'm going," and Goonie was like, "Yep, I'm right there," and they were off to the races, and everybody else was just sort of hang on for the ride. Uh, so if you want to see what happens next in this retelling of the Lost Mine of Phandelver using the original rule set, you can join us on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, again on twitch.tv Gallibond. They, uh, I made them do some nature checks or some, yeah, to figure out what they actually knew about dragons, and that allowed me to refresh them on one of the interesting differences with dragons in original D&D. When a dragon can use its breath weapon 3 times a day. It's not a recharge thing, but it just uses it 3 times a day, and it doesn't ever have to roll any hit points when it breathes because it deals its hit point in damage to everything in the cloud of its breath weapon. So, for example, if a dragon has 100 hit points and it breathes on you, it deals 100 hit points to everything that it breathes on. Which meant that in original D&D, dragons were no laughing matter, and it was it was very very rare that anybody um, in any kind of relatively low level would survive an encounter with a dragon. Um, they were just the really sort of fearsome creatures that you would expect them to be. And also, the breath weapons were just enormous. Like, this is a young dragon and has something like a 50-foot wide, 60-foot long, and 40-foot high cloud of breath. And everything in that area just gets all of its hit points. So they're they're a little bit difficult to deal with unless you humor them. So the party was very good about doing that, and so we'll see how everything goes. They're still in that town, and uh, they have a mission from the dragon. The dragon has told them that it expects them to come back in a month and or within a month and tell them that they have found uh, a suitable castle for it to rule, or it will demand 100 gold pieces each from them at the end of the month, or if they fail to show up, it will go to the town where it knows they are, and it will just kill a few people uh, because it doesn't like it will not like being trifled with. So they have that on their plates. You can join us Saturday night, 7:30, and see what's going on with that. All right, then Walker of Waterdeep is Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Once again, that's over on Twitch, twitch.tv/Gallibond. Uh, Walker of Waterdeep is the planeswalking game where we're crossing the streams of Magic the Gathering and D&D 5e. And they are in Kamigawa. and they are on their way now to um, the academy. But they started the session by getting to the village of the Kitsune, and it was a very RP heavy episode. So um, they had been warned that the Kitsune are kind of tricksy and will not really ask them what they will ask them questions, but the questions they ask are not really what they want to know. And so they had been given the idea that they should really sort of try to read between the lines, which meant a lot of insight checks. And so sure enough, they were greeted, and there was a nice reception for them, and they were treated very well and honored guests because they're friends of the Bushido who um, brought them to the village. But then each one of the players was, or each one of the PCs was taken off one by one and asked questions by two of the kitsune. And when they were asked questions, they had to make some insight checks. And some of them, it took two or three questions before the insight check would land. But they realized when they were successful with their insight that the question they were asking was not the one that they wanted the answer to. They wanted the answer to something different, and they were fishing for some other kind of information. And when the party, when the party showed that they were wise enough to discern what the kitsune really wanted to know, and they would tell them what they really wanted to know, that would always make the kitsune a little astonished. And they had also been told that when this happens, when you can surprise the kitsune by understanding what they want, you can oftentimes catch them in a moment of vulnerability and ask them a question, and you will get a straight answer instead of giving something couched in mystery. So they found out a little bit more about um, perhaps the reason that the Soratami, the Moonfolk, know some things. They found out that there is actually a kami that is a protector of the Soratami that is not taking part in the Kami War and may know the reason that the Kami are attacking. And so they now know they need to go to the academy, find a specific Soratami who can take them to the Moonfolk City, and there in the Moonfolk City, they would be able to meet with this Mochi, who is the kami that is a protector of the Soratami, who can sort of reveal the secret of why the Kami War is happening in the first place and what the PCs may need to do. They also learned that this Mochi really loves stories from other planes, and so if they entertain him with stories of their travels, he's liable to be able to uh, uh, you know give them some insights. So we will see how that all works out. Um, on their way to the academy, they were attacked by more ogres. And these are ogres that are um, they're pretty beefy ogres, but there's one that's a spellcaster, and this spellcaster had as its opening salvo an 8th level spell, um, but it can do that one time a day. Um, the party may or may not know that that they can do the that it can do that spell one time a day. So it's a it's one of these things where it's an innate spellcaster, and uh, it's also fire-based damage, which several of the party members have resistance to fire-based damage. So it's a powerful spell, but it's not as devastating as it could be. Um, then the other ones have some different abilities. There's one that they have discovered has the ability that if it bites you, when it bites you, it heals itself by dealing damage to you. And then there's another one, another ogre that they're fighting that um, has a very very long reach with its weapon. It's like got like a pole arm weapon with a 20-foot reach. So they are uh, extremely tough uh, ogres that these guys are fighting. And we'll see how that fight goes. But they were just in the middle of that fight when we ran out of time for the session on Sunday. So what I'm expecting this next Sunday, we'll finish that fight up, get to the academy, and then perhaps get all the way to the Soratami City by the time we're done. All right. If you want to find out what's going on with that, you can always join us over on twitch.tv/Gallibond. Hey, thank you everyone who is subscribed to the channel. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, like the video, share the video, click the post notification bell. Look in the description so you can find all the social media platforms and find out where to follow all the information about the live stream games. For those of you that are regulars, you will notice that over the last week I've been trying to catch up, and it'll take me a couple of more weeks to get fully caught up, but I'm starting to try to catch up with all of the backlog um, of the actual play shows here on YouTube. So the ones that have dropped off of Twitch, you can now go and watch the old episodes here on YouTube. And as I'm uploading those, I'm trying to make sure that I'm putting everything in order, so that the episodes the playlists will all be in order, so folks can go and just find the last one they listened to and then listen to the next one, or watch or listen to the next one. All right, thank you so much. We will talk to you all later. Take care, and we hope to see you next week. Remember to try to make your games memorable so that you can have tales from your table that you can share as well. Good night, everybody.